way too often, when things go wrong, folks don't ask the right questions. I said it. A lot of folks just don't ask the right questions. And because they don't ask the right questions, they can't get the right answers. The way you ask questions and the type of questions you ask are the determining actor or determining factor, better said, in the type of answer you will receive. Anyone that conducts a scientific or scholarly research knows this. You need to make sure your questions are aimed for the data you're looking for. If you're looking for depth, then you may need to do interviews. If you just want a statistic overview, you can just ask categorical questions. I'm going into statistics now because it's not a sociology nor anthropology class. What I'm pointing out here is that when something happens, whether it's a crime, it can be a murder or a kidnapping or anything in that region, or whether it is that suddenly a business went bankrupt or a mall closed out of the blue. When something happens, ask the right questions. The number one question is, what's the spiritual actor behind this? And I'm going to keep it to this question in this video, because this is the root question most would ask. What's the spiritual actor behind this? Don't you realize that if you don't ask the root questions, you can't uproot whatever is going on? Okay, let me give a parable unto you to explain this. There was this guy who was a footballer or a soccer player in British English. And this soccer player, he earned a lot of money playing professional football. He was not in the same rank, in the same level as Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi and those guys. He was just a guy that on the regional level, he was a top soccer player. When he was in his early 20s, he didn't even earn that much with playing soccer. Now that he's in his mid-30s, he earns thousands of euros each month. And he can spend thousands of euros each month. When he was in his early 20s, there were people that knew him. And, well, those people knew that this Charles, let's use the name Charles now, that this Charles was playing soccer. They thought, well, this Charles was playing soccer since he was a little kid, so he will play for some club, some soccer club over there, and that team may promote him. They thought, oh well, he just loves playing soccer. And this guy, this Charles, always had a fascination for Chinese characters, for Chinese art. Now, there are a lot of people talking bad about him because he has all these Chinese artifacts in his house. And they're making jokes about them. Some people are even upset with him, thinking, what the heck does he think he is? And now you may think that people are upset because he has all those Chinese artifacts in his house. When you look at that, you will think, hold on a minute, this is crazy. Why would you be upset with someone purchasing items that he places in his own house, and those items don't harm him or anyone else? And he didn't steal those items, he purchased them legally. But then you realize, hold on a minute, when this Charles was in his early 20s, he still had rent issues, like many people of that age who were going to college. So people didn't bother much with him. They thought that his obsession with Chinese artifacts or Chinese art was just, well, that guy, he's just filling an emptiness, or it's just a hobby. They didn't really think much of it. But now that he earns thousands of euros each month, and he decorates his house with beautiful Chinese goods, now folks are upset with him. Why? Because his spending capacity increased. So it's really the fact that he can spend more than them that they're upset with. And they're using his, it's not an obsession, but you use his hobby of gathering Chinese art as an excuse. They say that they're upset with him because he is so into Chinese art. Well, it's not, he's not Chinese himself. They say that that's why they're upset, but they're really upset at the fact that he can spend more than they do. So the root is their resentment at his prosperity. So it's jealousy and envy that's the root. But if you heard about this, that a lot of people were complaining about this professional soccer player that was so into Chinese art, you would say this is either fake news or those people are just bullies. You would remain on the surface. You don't go beneath the surface to find out what's really going on. That's what I mean. You ought to go beneath the surface. Let's say now that you encounter a lot of difficulties in finding a job, and when you do have a job, every job you're at, some coworker turns on you and the boss gets tired and you're out of the job again. You go from job to job. You have relatives that keep complaining about why can't he have a stable job and all of that. So then you see the symptoms, or you experience the symptoms, and the symptoms are painful, the symptoms are disruptive. You don't want to be disrupted all the time, so you want the symptoms to be dealt with. So you go to a psychologist to see whether it's some trauma from your past that enables bullies to bully you. You go to church on Sundays to get spiritual aid from the pastors. Well, those pastors are pagan, so it's not very useful. You do all of these things because you want this financial tribulation to stop. But then someone comes to you and that individual tells you, Harold. And it's like, yeah, Harold, what's, you think, okay, he's calling my name, Harold, who is this guy? And then you look at him and realize, oh, it's you. You remember, he's the guy that used to go to school with you. And you greet one another, you haven't seen each other for over 15 years. And then that other individual, let's call him Frank, tells you, Harold, I heard you're struggling with keeping a job. And you say, you're Harold, you say, yes. You really don't want to talk about it, but okay, you admit it. I mean, this guy, you haven't seen him for 15 years, since high school. He has no bad intentions towards you, so you can be open about things towards him. You know he's not going to use it against you. And then that guy, also Frank tells you, Harold, haven't you noticed that you are the only one who really has spare time? And you look at him and think, huh? What the heck are you talking about, man? You think, please, cut it out. You think to yourself, I'm going through this, and now you're talking about me having spare time. You think, you said to him, well, Frank, of course I have a lot of spare time, because every job I get, I have issues coming against me. But then Frank tells you, Harold, there's something you don't notice. You worked over 12 different jobs past 2 years, right? Haven't you noticed that all those corporations where you used to work at, they're all bankrupt now? If you would have remained for the long term at any of those jobs, you would have been fired anyway because they would have gone bankrupt. Some of those corporations, they are bankrupt already, but they are life support and financial life support by the bank. But employees that go to jobs every day are not aware of it. So one day, surprise will hit them and they don't have a job anymore, they have no income anymore, and they're in a crisis. But you escaped all of those crises, all of those issues you escaped. Because anytime you got a job at the corporation, it was either a fake corporation or the corporation was about to go down, you were out, right on time. And you realize, oh, okay, that's true. And then Frank tells you also, Harold, haven't you noticed that all your dreams have come true? And they look at him again and think, Frank, what are you talking about? All my dreams came true. And then Frank tells you, Harold, look at it different. You wanted to visit the Great Wall in China. You did. You wanted to be able to relax instead of working all the time. Well, you are relaxing often. You wanted to be able to write essays. You've written over 400 essays past 5 years. Man, you are a very fervent writer. And some of those essays, people are reading them and quoting them. And you think, what? They're quoting them? And then Frank shows you on his laptop on Google Scholar that your essays are being used in other articles. And then Harold tells you, Frank tells you, Harold, how many of those that you went to college with have this success that their work is quoted? And then you think, none? Now what's going on here? You didn't ask the right questions. That financial tribulation that you encountered wasn't really a tribulation at all. It was your prayers being answered. But you just didn't see it like that because you expected your prayers to be answered in a different way. But that expectation of yours didn't add up. So now your prayers were working out, but in a different way that you expected. So you should have asked, what's the spiritual actor behind this? If you would have asked that question, you would realize, hold on a minute, there's more going on than I realize now. This tribulation is only something on the surface, was beneath the surface. If you would have done that, you would realize, hold on a minute, this may be my prayers working out on my behalf. That's what I mean. If you don't ask the root question, what's the spiritual actor behind this, you may end up falling for the tricks of the enemy, or you may fall for the tricks of scammers. Always ask, what's the spiritual actor behind this? Even though it's human beings, and by the way, human beings are spirit beings, so they are the spiritual actors also. Even though it's human beings operating, often there are spiritual forces behind those human beings. There are spiritual powers using those human beings to accomplish an agenda. And those human beings that are used aren't even aware of it. It can be that you have a lot of stress at the moment, and then you have people that tend to call you often because they have all kinds of problems and they want to talk to someone. Now what's going on here? Those people who don't want to face things are now used by evil spirits to keep you in a neck of tension. Because evil spirits want you occupied with their worries, which are self-inflicted, so that you are worn out all the time, so that you can't do the will of God. So those people aren't aware that evil spirits are using them. They're not, but evil spirits are still using them. And why can evil spirits use them? Because they don't want to face things, just want relief. And they think I can always call Rashid, always call Joanna when I'm stuck with something. And after they talk to you, actually dump all the frustrations on you through the phone or through WhatsApp or Facebook, whatever, they are at ease. But you're the one charged now. And the evil spirits will now use them to dump waste on you over and over again to keep you in a state of anxiety. But if you ask the question, what spiritual actor is behind this, you are now looking at the bigger picture, and sooner or later you realize that these people are being used, because you'll realize the timing. Every time you're about to relax, they are calling. And every time they call and they hang up, there's some kind of tension, some kind of heavy energy around you. Now you see the pattern, now you break the pattern. Then you begin to block the number. Now you begin to lower contact with them, or you break contact with them completely. I did that with certain people because I realized that any time they're in contact with me, it's either they are going through some crisis or they have some issue, and often go to similar issues over and over again. And this is safe, they don't want to learn, they don't want to get out. And I realized, you're being used by the enemy to transfer violence onto Rashid. Well, you know what? It's not going to happen. I shut down certain people from being in contact with me because I realized evil powers were using them against me. I asked the question, which spiritual actor is behind this? Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.